Hello, welcome to the Analyst Inside Cricket. It's me, Simon Hughes, and Deep Dasgupta's joined us today because I thought, Deep, that we'd just reflect on that
Yeah,
amazing series. I mean, it's easy to sort of move on. The cricket world turns so fast, doesn't it? And off
yeah,
off goes the hundred, and people are already talking about the Ashes and all sorts of other cricket, and Premier League football's back. So people this sort of stuff can get quickly forgotten. And I just thought we'd kind of reflect as we've both watched every ball pretty much of that
yeah,
last five tests. I just thought we'd kind of reflect on it a bit and pick out some moments. Just to start with, yesterday, it was such a dramatic. I mean, it had everything, didn't it? It had the drama of the run chase itself, wickets, catches over the line, falling at the fielder, falling over the line, sixes, brilliant bowling, nervy
yeah.
batting, and then finally the classic man in a sling coming out to bat. At last man with 17 required. It was just absolutely riveting and compelling, and the heart rate kind of was off the scale.
Six, six to tie.
I just pick out Mohamed Siraj, which
Yeah.
everybody else has as well. But I found his comments afterwards interesting. Obviously, he bowled that final ball, and actually to have the nerve and skill to bowl that Yorker. I'd been at the death of cricket matches, not Test matches, but one day cup finals, and I remember trying to bowl a Yorker, and it was a knee high full toss, or it was down the leg side, or okay, I got the odd one in the right spot, but to get the consistently, he didn't. But that with six to win or six to tie, he could easily have bowled a knee-high full toss to Atkinson,
Yeah.
which is exactly what he wanted, and he could have walloped it over the boundary. But he bowled the perfect off-stump Yorker, having bowled, and
Yeah.
I just counted this up, 187 overs, and that's over 1,000 balls in the series, and he still had that skill and
Mm.
ability and stamina to get the ball in the right place. It was amazing.
It definitely was, and it does help to be a three format bowler, to be fair, and especially when you're playing against England, who have a different brand of they play a different brand of cricket in Test matches. You need to have your defensive side of the skill as well, and that's where I think the confidence of having played so many T20 games, including IPL, and IPL is equally a high pressure environment that you have to deliver your skill set. So I think all of that does help. And but most importantly, and you mentioned about 187 overs. I mean, he was bowling his 30th over of the innings. That in itself is a lot. If you think about it, India kind of went in with three bowlers, didn't really bowl the spinners at all. So there were three seamers. So that's where you kind of put it into context. 30 overs, three seamers bowling almost right through that innings. That's huge. And the best part is yesterday he was bowling at 90 miles an hour. After having bowled 180 plus overs, he was still bowling at 90 miles an hour. I mean, I I don't know. I mean, obviously, I mean, this is something that we've always appreciated about Siraj is he's a lot of heart. It's he will give everything, right? He will not hold back. I mean, that is one thing which you're absolutely assured of. But I think what was revealing right through this series was one, his leadership qualities as well, which is something that you were looking for from Siraj, knowing very well that he is the senior bowler right now in the absence of Bumrah. We don't know what the Bumrah situation is going forward. Uh, so you were also looking at him as, is he going to step up into that prime bowler, the number one pace bowler position, and which he has done exceedingly well. If you look at the two Test matches that India has won, it was in the absence of Bumrah. Right.
Yeah.
So obviously, and in both those Test matches, I mean the bowlers had to do a lot. I mean it wasn't so yeah, I mean, so it is a huge, huge series for Mohammad Siraj. Also, not from just the number of wickets that he's picked, but also I think the position that he's taken up now as the premier fast bowler.
And Alistair Cook, who was one of the fittest cricketers going when he played for England and was always winning the 5K race that they had, even when he was practically retired, he was
I'm
still the
I'm
best
I'm
at
I'm
5K.
sure I'm sure
Yeah.
he's still gonna win it.
Probably, but he marvelled at Mohamed Siraj's ability and stamina in particular. And actually, listening to Siraj talking after the game, someone said in the press conference, "How do you keep going?" And he just
Hmm.
said, "I do it for my country. I
Yeah,
do it because I care so much, and I don't
yeah,
feel, when I'm bowling my seventh and eighth overs in a spell, I don't feel
yeah,
tired. I just want to do it for my country." And he
yeah,
said, I also get influenced by the memory of my father, who said, "Just
yeah,
keep going, never stop, always keep
yeah,
trying, keep working." And I
yeah.
guess that's sort of that's infused his ability. And in a way, kind of reduced the feeling of tiredness and fatigue.
True.
It doesn't exist in his head.
Because also he's actually, if you think about it, he's not really from the system per se. He only came in very late into the system. He hasn't really played the under 16, under 19, the usual path which 95% of the players would take into the state system or the county system here. So he came from outside. So, and I'm glad that now that, I mean, he's not a youngster anymore. He's been around international level for a while, but he still has that enthusiasm, which you generally see with young kids and all. We spoke about Joe Root and his batting. I mean, after so many years, you still see that boyish enthusiasm when he's batting. You just out there enjoying every minute that you spend on the field, and that's kind of the same with Siraj. Even after having played a few years of international cricket now, and in 2019-20 was his debut, so he's been around for 5-6 years. So even after having played 5-6 years, you can still see that the boyish enthusiasm in him, as in just wanting to go out there and uh, you know giving his heart out for every delivery, not just over. I'm talking about every delivery. Yeah,
Yeah. So, in other words, what you're saying is it hasn't been hammered out of him from
yeah, exactly.
endless
When you're in the
playing.
system,
But
exactly.
well, I mean, that's slightly true. I think he only started playing with a hard ball when he
When he was
was in his
20, 21, something like that. So he was like,
yeah.
I mean, he was a good tennis ball bowler. And in India, the tennis ball cricket circuit is in places, it's quite big. So he's from Hyderabad, and it's quite big there. So he was kind of a tennis ball professional cricketer, so to say. From there, yeah, I think by chance somebody said, a club guy said, we had a bowler missing in a proper cricket uh, match, I think league match or something, and he went and he bowled with a cricket ball for the first time, not for the first time, as in officially for the first time, and then yeah, he hasn't looked back since.
Yeah. Well, it was fantastic. And I suppose he's the sort of embodiment of fighting to the death in the
Yeah,
same way as Stokes is. I mean, they just don't know when to
yeah,
give up, do they? Of course,
yeah.
Stokes in the end had to give up because his body told him he couldn't go on.
So,
But
so,
Siraj, in a way, was the survivor of the series compared to
so
Stokes.
100%, like quite literally the last man standing, if you think about it.
Yeah.
And not just that, the other important thing is in this age of workload management and all now, the duty of care is on the team management, because if you don't want him to lose that edge, thinking about, oh, my body can't give anymore, I need a break. So you don't want him to think like that. So before he starts thinking, it is up to the team management to start taking care of him, right? And say, you know what, and try and manage on his behalf a little bit, because if you leave it to him, like Ben Stokes, he's not going to stop. He's going to go till he's down and out. So you got to be a little careful here now with him, because you don't want him to turn into someone who would say, you know what, nah, I think I'm gonna miss this one. My body is not feeling right and all, or I'm on those lines. I mean, so now the duty of care is on the team management.
Mm. But it is what makes the test match format so compelling, isn't it? The fact that you've got, if you look at Siraj's series, all that hard work, and then when it got to Lords, of course, he was the last man out, bowled by Shoaib Bashir when the ball trickled onto the stumps. And then in this Test match, stepping over the line to take that shot from Harry Brook and stepping over the line, so it had gone for 6. So many kind of little stories, the encounters he had with Duckett through the series, and the little words that were saying. I enjoyed actually Siraj talking to Root at Lords, and we picked that up on the stump mics, didn't we? Come on, Root, where is Bazball? I want to see Bazball. Just brilliant little provocation, and that just adds spice to it all, and it continues the narrative of a 5-test series, which I suppose people who just dip in and out don't quite kind of get the same sense of.
Yeah, but the series from that point of view has been absolutely brilliant advertisement for Test match cricket, because you didn't have spells like that where nothing was happening. You always had something happening during the Test match, maybe apart from, let's say, Old Trafford, a session or two, but right through the series, there was some action, whether it was cricketing or otherwise, was something that was going on worth talking about.
Let's just quickly go through the series. And by the way, I think it is on a par with the 2005 Ashes. I know you weren't sort of steeped in that so much, but I certainly was. And that each game in that series as well had unpredictability, drama, brilliant skills.
Yeah.
Disastrous performances, people coming back from the dead, injuries, McGrath breaking down, which was 20 years ago this week, and teams messing it up and then sort of coming back and managing to win in the end, or managing to lose in the end. So it was similar. And that series that I'm producing with Simon Mann is out now. The recap of the 2005 Ashes. I'll post the next episode, the audio version on this podcast, but you can get the video version by going to Substack, the Crick Burst. I'll post the link to that at the end on the podcast notes. But if we just go back to the series, this series, first Test was obviously at Headingley, and I suppose if Shubman Gill was a reflective type, he might say, I was knocking the ball around with ease, and I had the English bowlers at my mercy, 147 not out, and then he chipped one down deep mid-wicket and got out. And after that, India lost 7 wickets for about 30 runs, or 7 wickets for 41 runs. And suddenly a position of 430 odd for 3 was 470 all out. And they should have made 600 there, really, shouldn't they?
They should have, and both innings. So it was Shubman, and then second innings it was Rishabh. So if both of them had carried on, could have been a different story. And also, had the tail had wagged, if had more batting contributions from the last 3-4 wickets, we could have seen Kuldeep in this series. Because one of the reasons I thought we didn't see Kuldeep right through this series was because of that first Test match. I think it took a while for the team management to get that confidence back. I don't know whether they still have it or not, because till the last Test match, the team management wanted batting at number 8. And when I say batting, I'm talking about proper batting, not just a bowler who could bat. So one is obviously that, but if you see the bigger picture, had there been more contribution and had India gone on to, if not win, at least get 600 runs, like you say, I think we could have seen Kuldeep in the series.
There were drop catches, of course, in that game as well, which didn't help India's cause.
We haven't, since that Test match, we haven't seen Yashasvi Jaiswal in the slips or Gully for that matter.
He's far out on the boundary mostly.
Yeah.
That game was obviously highlighted by that superb opening stand for England, chasing 371 with Duckett and Crawley playing beautifully, and that was a really fantastic innings by Ben Duckett, 149, I think he made, superb in the run chase. So England are off to a good start, and an unlikely start, and, one of their highest ever run chases, 371. In the second Test at Edgbaston, very flat pitch. I thought there were some dry moments actually in that game, especially early on, but Shubman was absolutely sublime and immense, and made all those runs. I think it was 430 runs in the game. Should England have held out for a draw there? Perhaps they kind of their
Yeah,
last
but
inning
it's
sort of fell away a bit, didn't it?
it did, but then it's not in the DNA of this English side. I mean, playing for a draw. So that is a very different one is a mindset and also the skill set as well. Because obviously it has changed quite a bit. It was a pleasant shift from the baseball cricket that we've seen last few years. It's a lot more matured if you think about it. But then having said that, it's not in this team's DNA to play for a draw. But also talking about Shubman, the mistake that we just spoke about in the first, I won't say mistake or miscalculation or something, from Shubman and Rishabh from the first test wasn't repeated in the second. He just made sure,
Yeah.
or rather, both of them made sure they're just out there till the end and just bat for as long as possible. So I think those are also good signs, whether we all have made mistakes. I mean, all these guys will go on make mistakes, but important bit is, are you learning from them or not? I think that's the important bit. And it was a quick turnaround as far as Shubman's concerned. And yeah, and making sure that India kind of bat England out of the test match.
Yeah, and there was one other key moment actually on that last day when Jadeja rushed through an over to allow Washington Sundar to bowl one more, and he trapped Ben Stokes LBW. And
Yeah.
we're talking about fighting to the death and being ultra committed, which Mohamed Siraj is the sort of embodiment of. I mean, Stokes is that for England, and you could see him, even though he wasn't in much form batting wise, you could see him just gutsing it out. So that was a
Yeah.
key wicket just before lunch.
It was a huge wicket. Also, because when you're looking at, in this side, who are these batters? If you identify who can bat, I'm not saying score runs, but bat for 2 session, 3 session, and you say Joe Root, Ben Stokes, you take these names, right? Others will score runs, but if it boils down to batting sessions, Ben Stokes is still kind of old school. He still has that kind of a skill set where, if required, he can bat for 3 sessions. He can defend a session. So from that point of view, that I think that was a huge, huge wicket.
So it was 1-1 at Edgbaston. Then we go to Lords. Both teams score exactly the same number of runs in first innings, 387. Amazing. Obviously that game had, its sparking, fiery moments,
Hmm.
altercations and so on. Jofra Archer coming back and bowling well and getting early wickets, kept getting left-handers out. Bowled out Jaiswal with his third ball back in Test cricket, which was an ecstatic moment for him. But I thought on the last day, which was a very slow burn, wasn't it? India
Mm.
seeking 190 odd to win. It was only 191 target, but it
Yeah.
became a sort of slow grind as wickets fell. And I wondered whether, you lost in the end, India lost in the end by 20 odd
Mm.
runs. I wondered if Jadeja should have been a bit more positive. He was going at like 1.5 and over and just playing
Yeah.
out 4 balls and then just taking a single, and the others
Yeah.
were sort of not really scoring. Should he have been more
Uh,
positive there, maybe?
uh, Maybe yes, but when you look at Jadeja and how he bats very orthodox, right? So if you have 7, 8 fielders on the boundary, it becomes very difficult, generally speaking, to get those boundaries. So I think yes, I mean there was a point where I think it was 42 required and 42 overs left, and I was like, oh my God, this could be a tie, you know.
Yeah.
But then yeah, listen, I think maybe he should have, but if that's the way, and he got it, I mean he got the game really close. I think India in the end lost by 22 runs. So yes, he could have hit a few boundaries, could have taken a few more chances. But then if that's the way he thought he was going to take it, he's played enough cricket, he's been around for a while. I think it was all right, and that would also mean showing faith in Mohammad Siraj's batting abilities. Unfortunately, was a heartbreak the way he got out. I mean, he hung in there for a while, did his best, but yeah, it was absolute uh, yeah, heartbreak.
Torture. It
And
was torture.
yeah,
It was a slow
and but
torture, wasn't it?
exactly because you could see the ball slowly rolling onto the stumps. Everyone knew it apart from Mohammad Siraj where the ball was going.
Okay, so it's 2-1 after 3 tests. Then we get to Old Trafford, and I think everyone was hoping that the pitch might have a bit more pace, but actually it was a pretty dead track, wasn't it? And again, it was a
Yeah.
sort of arm wrestle throughout the game. I suppose, I mean, what was incredible about that game was England getting 2 early wickets in the final Indian innings, and then actually failing to get practically any more wickets for the whole of a day and a half. Amazing that India lost 2 wickets in a day and a half. I mean, that just shows true bloody minded resilience.
Yeah, absolutely. And and you're talking about two, India was 0 for 2 in that fourth
They
innings.
were, yeah.
Yeah, 0 for 2. I think straight after lunch, or they went into lunch 0 for 2 actually. Went into lunch 0 for 2 and came back and played out. Shubman uh, played out what, 2 sessions, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Uh, 2 sessions, and yeah, that's just again why this series is was there's so many positives because the whole mindset of even trying to play out 5 sessions. We're talking about 5 sessions here, so 2 sessions on day 4, 3 sessions on day 5. Just that mindset of playing out 5 session, I mean, in itself is a difficult one. If you think about what you have to, what, 4.5 hours and 6.5 hours, we're talking about 11 hours of batting here. And with 8 wickets in hand. But then, not just that, they did not shut shop completely. They were still playing their natural game. So they were still scoring runs. They were still looking to score runs. They were still playing positive cricket, but they were playing percentage cricket at the same time. So that is again a huge learning. Is one, you and it's a huge confidence as well going forward for this young side that you have that in your memory bank, having done that, having played 5 sessions out, and how to do it. And even though, like you said, the pitch was had nothing for the bowlers, to be fair, but then still to play out 5 session was absolutely huge, and these guys would have it in their memory bank going forward.
Is that something that you grow up knowing how to do in India? That just knowing how to bat? Because you see all these scores made by the
Mm,
likes of Prithvi Shaw and I don't know
yeah,
Suryavanshi and
uh,
the 14-year-old and others. You read
yeah,
about obviously Sachin in
yeah,
partnership with Vinod Kambli putting on what was it 660 in a school
yes,
game and so on.
yes.
Is it part of the sort of growing up uh,
Mm,
thing in India
it
that
is.
if you're a cricketer, if you're a batter, you learn to bat all day.
I mean, that's a great point because obviously, especially places like Mumbai and all, school cricket is still days cricket. It's not 20 overs. I mean, you have 20 overs, 40 overs matches, but there's still 2 day cricket at school level. So you've grown up one knowing how to bat long sessions or scoring hundreds. So that's one thing. Unfortunately, that is kind of going out of fashion now in India as well. You don't have as many 2 day underage cricket. But also from a county or state perspective, the under 16, under 19, the county games or the state games, they are longer version games. You still have the 50 overs, but the emphasis is on the longer version, in your formative years. So you are kind of mentally tuned to kind of get big runs, play longer. And there is another very common concept in India is you the idea is if you're there, you will score runs. So the idea is to be there, you know. So there is also this concept, which again, with T20 cricket, that is also slowly kind of going the concept of, yeah, I'll try and get as many runs as possible. But there was this concept for a very long time and still there, where you would tell kids, you know what, if you're there, you'll score runs anyways. So make sure you bat. Then you're looking at balls and not runs. You know.
Mm.
So the focus is rather than getting 100, you're saying, you know what, for 100 you need to play 150 balls. Now let's just break that down. Okay, if you play 150 balls, you'll get 100. So that is a concept which is still there. And like I said, because underage cricket is the emphasis is still on red ball cricket, that helps.
Do you think we made too much of well, how did the Indian public react to, or
Hmm.
how would the Indian public have reacted to Jadeja and Washington Sundar getting their hundreds, and the English kind of taking the piss out of them and lobbing up a few donkey drops and things when the game was clearly a draw?
Hmm.
What? Give us an Indian perspective on that.
I think it is okay. I mean, it was taken for granted that India will go on and bat till the time both of them. I mean, it wasn't even a question. It wasn't even a question saying, you know what, or we shake hands, and even if the player and surprising that seeing the reaction in England though, because it is. I mean, if somebody's batting on 90 and he's batted 2 sessions, we're talking about another 5-10 overs. Or I mean, so I don't know. I mean, it was kind of surprising to see that kind of a reaction. I can understand why Ben Stokes wanted to finish it there and end it there. But then the reaction in terms of, oh, this 100 doesn't matter. Nobody's going to remember a month from now, and people have already forgotten. We're talking about Washington Sundar getting 100 and Jadeja getting 100, and a very well deserved 100, very well earned, a hard earned 100. I mean, both of them batted for 2 sessions. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was very different kind of a reaction as far as India is concerned, or most of us are concerned. Yeah, I mean, somebody's batting on 80, the other one was 89, I think, when those
Yeah,
mandatory
yeah.
overs started. I mean, it is taken for granted that's going to happen.
I suppose it's one of cricket's sort of mysteries in a way, one of its cricket's features that stats and individual performances are an important aspect. But if those two batters had been 60 not out, they
Yeah, would
wouldn't
have
have
been
stayed
different.
on. They
Nah,
wouldn't have stayed
nah.
on for 10 overs to try and get 100
So
then, would they?
no, they wouldn't have. Then maybe just post lunch, you would have seen them bat a little quickly and get into that position, get into that 80, 85, so that you can use the next 10, 15 overs. So I think and that is quite normal. I mean, so kind of surprising that the reaction was otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's a fair point. I was a bit critical of it actually. I was a bit critical of
Mm.
the obsession with getting 100, but at the same time, I know that players are judged on that. Look at the amount of comment on Jacob Bethel and how he's
Yeah.
never made 100 at professional
Yeah.
level, and
Yeah.
as if
Exactly.
that is the only mark of ability. It sort of is in a way, isn't it? It's a sort of
And
a testament to
Simon,
longevity as well as
true.
skill, I suppose.
And also a big important thing is, and it is happening everywhere, where everything is being quantified. You're putting numbers to everything. And that is where I think it becomes very, very important, even more so. Earlier on you would see a player and say, and you would watch him. You're like, okay, you heard of Jacob Bethel, let's watch him. You watch him, even if he gets a 25, 30, you watch him and you say, oh wow, he looks good. But now, maybe because lack of time and all, people don't watch cricket that much anymore. You straight away go to one of those websites and see, oh, how many runs has he scored? How many hundreds has he scored? Or what's his average? Right? Which is also fair. And for example, if you ask me about a player, an English player, an Australian player who I haven't seen, the first thing I'll do is I'll go check his stats, his numbers. And based on that, I'll I'll have my opinion. Right? So I think I mean, we've got to accept it. I mean, it is what it is.
A couple of other things about Old Trafford. I mean, firstly, England missed Jadeja first ball, a difficult catch to Joe Root high up at first slip. That was a key miss, wasn't it? Because that was off
Mhm.
Archer. Archer just got a wicket, and obviously England couldn't get Jadeja out after that. And also Ben Stokes. I mean, that was the test when Rishabh Pant came out to bat with a broken
Yeah.
foot, and Ben Stokes grimaced through virtually a whole day on the
Oh,
field
oh
with.
yeah.
He appeared to be in agony with a shoulder injury. So, and actually, I think this is where Test cricket again is great because the cameras focus in on these guys in obvious pain. It's like watching a movie, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's the reason it's called Test cricket. I mean, it tests every aspect of 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 a human, right? It's not just about your skill, but can you repeat that skill set over a period of time? Because it's easy to hit a six, but if I ask you to hit 10 sixes in a row without getting out, that is definitely more difficult. Same, it's from skill point of view, from the mental side of things, physically, heart. I mean, everything. Uh, I mean, yeah, I mean, talking about Ben Stokes, he bowled what, 9 overs with that
Mm.
green? I mean, in the morning maybe nine, even 10. I don't know. I mean, but a very long spell. Same with Rishabh. I mean, with a broken foot coming out to bat, and those were, I mean, crucial contribution. I mean, if you think about, obviously he made I think 17 runs post the injury, plus the partnerships. If you include that, we're talking about around 45 odd runs. We're talking about half a session, maybe a session, almost a session. So yeah, I mean, those amazing. I mean, that's the reason you know, you can easily, if you make a box set of this series, it's gonna be a massive hit. No two ways about it. It's
Well,
got
actually,
everything.
we did that for the 2005 Ashes, actually, and it
Yeah,
absolutely flew off the shelves. I think it sold
yeah,
six or 700,000 copies of a DVD in those days. So
yeah.
yeah, I
And
mean, you're right.
you talk about Ashes, and we are talking about England,
Yeah,
India.
yeah.
So you can imagine the numbers then.
Yeah, no, sure. Well, exactly. I mean, so certainly the Indian public. I'll talk about that in a minute. Actually, how it's been received in India.
Yeah.
So anyway, we get to the final test. Stokes is out because of that such total commitment to the cause. Couldn't give any more. Shubman Gill survived, and that encounter actually between Shubman Gill and Stokes at Old Trafford defined the series in a way. There was a spell where
Mm,
Stokes was grabbing his shoulder every ball, and
mm,
Shubman was resisting every delivery. And there was a few that bashed into his thumb and whacked him
yeah,
on the body and things. And he was absolutely stuck there, wasn't he? Absolutely going to give absolutely nothing
yeah,
away. So that encapsulated the kind of duel between the teams. Then we get to the Oval. I thought England bowled poorly on the first day. I know they were
yes,
hampered a bit by the wet footholds,
yes,
understandably, and I was forgiving about that in a way, but they should have bowled India out for 160. In the
mm,
end, India got over 200. When we got to the last day, poor
yeah.
old Wokes was obviously out by then, having dived over the boundary and injured his shoulder so badly. When we got to the last day, 35 to win, 4 wickets left yesterday. What did you think? What were you thinking before play?
Uh, so let's start with day four here, right? Because I think the last innings was absolutely how the series had gone. So we're talking about 370 something, 78, 70,
374,
74, 374, sorry, yeah.
374.
So 374. And and looking at the pitch and the conditions, like, yeah, this favors India, right? And then 3 wickets fall early. Okay, India ahead. And then that partnership happens. Harry Brook, Joe Root, and then 70 required, 7 wickets in hand. They start thinking, no chance. I mean, this is again, England's going to chase down and create another record and stuff like that, another massive run chase.
And Brooke
And
and Brooke and Root were just playing it with what Jeffrey
oh,
Walker would call a
ease.
stick of rhubarb. I mean, in their
Oh,
different ways, Root
yeah,
was just easing it around and dabbing it for singles and the odd boundary. And
yeah.
Brooke was outrageous, but his skill levels are astonishing, aren't they? And I
They
felt at
are.
times, even the best balls, he was just dabbing for a single and then forcing the bowlers to
So
bowl somewhere else and then
So
putting them
we'll get
away.
back to that. We'll get back to that in terms of Harry Brook. But then, yeah, so 70 required, 7 wickets in hand. I was like, easy. England's going to win this. And then that Harry Brook wicket happens. Okay, we're still England ahead. As long as, for me, as long as Joe Root was there, it was still England's game. But then that spell, late in the evening on day four,
Yeah.
Mohammad Siraj, Prasidh Krishna was spectacular, especially Mohammad Siraj. And it just suddenly it became a different game. Obviously conditions were always difficult, but for a new batter, it was always going to be trouble. But then even for Joe Root, I mean, when Joe Root got out, that was when, I think India were truly back in the game, with his wicket, which Prasidh Krishna picked up. And yeah, and then day five. And day five, it was kind of 50-50, and especially after the two boundaries. I mean, first ball boundary slapped, quite literally slapped to the boundary. Second one, an inside edge. So technically speaking, after two balls of day five, it was 27 runs. Right. And then you're like, oh, this is this is getting tougher now. But again, Mohamed Siraj, he comes back, and Jamie Smith, he got out on the third ball of the over. But if you look at the first two balls of that over as well, very tentative prods outside off stump. They were like fifth, sixth stump balls. You had no business playing at it. You got the whole day to bat to get 27 runs. And when I saw him bat the first two balls, I like, now this is interesting, right? Because I thought had India continued on day four, had the game continued on day four, advantage India because of the momentum, the environment, the pressure. My biggest thought in my head was, can India recreate that on fifth day morning? You know, because once you're bowling, I mean, you've been a bowler, you know it. Once you're on a roll, it doesn't matter whether you're bowling seventh over, ninth over, because you're on a roll. But then once you sit down and your body cools down, then to pick yourself up again, that is a problem, and to that same level of intensity. So that was something on my mind I thought would be challenging for India. But with that wicket of Jamie Smith, I think the crowd helped. The crowd had, I mean, a huge number of Indian fans on day five. So I think the best part was to recreate that environment again and kind of still bowling the way they did on fourth evening, both Prasid and especially Siraj.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. The way they recreated that. And funnily enough, I was watching the Sunday night play when India suddenly got on top after Root was out.
Mm.
I was sat with Tom Holland, who many
Uh,
listeners will know who I mean. The rest is history.
mm,
Star and a great
yeah.
cricket fan and a member at the Oval at Surrey and so on. And he's basically said that it reminded him over the last sort of day and a half of the first ever Test match at the Oval way back in 1882, which Australia won, and
Mm,
the famous Frederick the Demon Spofforth of Australia bowled England out. They needed 85 to win in the last innings, and he bowled them out for 77. And he took about six or seven wickets, and he was just absolutely on a roll. And I mean, Siraj, he doesn't quite look like the demon. I think the England guys call him Mr. Angry, don't they? Even though he's got a big smile on his face, but he's so lion-hearted, and
yeah.
his dedication to the cause there was absolutely.
Mm.
We've mentioned it
And
already, but it was remarkable.
true. And also the fact that in a situation, a pressure cooker situation like that, the difficult part is to keep the basics right. You still have to get the basics right. You have to do the simple things, the right areas, outside off stumps, swing, seam position. And as easy as it may sound to do the basics, but in a situation like this, that is one of the toughest things to do, isn't it, Simon? I mean, you've got emotions and everything and thoughts in your head, positive, negative, controlling those emotions and just focusing on the skill in itself is difficult.
But he did it. He did it
Mm.
superbly. And of course, in that 1882 Test match, there were stories of people chewing through the handle of their umbrella, and someone was carted away with a heart, having had a heart attack. How were you feeling at the end there?
Oh, I mean, a little exhausted because it's been that kind of a series, but also kind of, yeah, I mean, maybe uh, uh, the fact that it's over, you're like, oh, it's over, because there was so much of action and stuff. You're like, okay, wish there was another one.
Yeah. It is a bit of a come down, isn't it? Suddenly, the
Mm,
next day. I mean, I was still at the ground 4 hours later, finishing off a podcast from yesterday, and it's just weird looking at that big open expanse of the oval with
Yeah,
no one on it except a few seagulls, and everyone had gone home. You know, they were
yeah,
clearing up the empty beer cans and things, and it's so incredible that a big green expanse of grass that you put 22
yeah,
men on it playing for their country, and you can generate
yeah.
that amount of drama.
It was. This is a series to remember, like you said, 2005. This would be out there, I'm sure, as far as Indian people, as in Indian fans are concerned. Yeah, I mean, see, there was obviously the India-Australia series that was quite dramatic
Yeah.
as well.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, people getting injured, flying over back home. Uh,
It was
you
Pujara
know,
taking blow after blow on
yeah,
the body, wasn't
exactly.
there?
So,
In that last
so
test match,
yeah,
being hit everywhere, and he
true.
survived, and India won. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess this would be right up there with that test series, which was what, 21, yeah, 21, 22 Australia. This would be right up with that. Because
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, so it's quite good. But the pleasing bit is this is a very, very young side, or rather inexperienced side. A team going through transition, a new captain. This was his first assignment as a captain, and you know, able to achieve what they have.
And how is it received in India? I mean, obviously everyone's obsessed by the IPL,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Talking to one or two journalists in the press box, Indian journalists, there's a lot of Indian interest. I mean, there's a
Mm.
lot of Indian journalists either writing or recording podcasts
Yes.
or videos or whatever. I guess that the Indian public have connected with it pretty well, have they?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, a lot of it, huge, huge. I mean, because you can see it on social media, you can see it in general, like you said. Uh, yeah, I mean, because obviously everyone kind of was a little down before this series started, down in the sense didn't have a huge amount of expectation because obviously new team and everything else. Also
Kohli
because
retiring and all that kind of
Virat
thing.
retiring, Rohit
Yeah,
retiring,
yeah.
Ashwin retiring, Mohammad Shami not available, Bumrah available only 3 test matches. So all of those things. I mean, the expectation wasn't that much from this side. But then I think after the first test match, you got an idea what this side can do. Then with the win in the second test match, I think everyone was invested in it.
Got a note on Substack here from a reader, actually, Alex Haley, who says, talking about the series, is that was a magnificent piece of sport, jeopardy, emotion, national pride for millions around the globe. For the rest, totally baffling, but who cares? Nicely put. I mean, certainly half the world, probably America, China, Russia, and all
Yeah.
those other countries, probably not remotely interested. But for us, it was actually a privilege to be part of it, wasn't it? In some way, I
Oh
mean, in
yes.
a detached way. Obviously, we're just commentators and observers, but it was a privilege to watch and experience, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's absolutely no two ways about it. Just to be, part of a series like this, and I mean, when you're covering it, you're also living the series like the players do. So you're also going through emotions and all of that. So yeah, it was fascinating. I mean, yeah, one to remember for a very long time.
Well, thank you for all your contributions and for the Indian players and their supporters' contributions as well, because that sort of added
Yeah.
so much to the colour and vibrancy of the series overall.
Mm.
And as I said, we are recapping the 2005 Ashes at the moment on Substack and also on this podcast platform as well. So look out for the Crickverse. If you subscribe to that and pay a small subscription, you'll get the videos of that 2005 Ashes sent straight to your device. Deep, thank you very much for all your
Pleasure's mine.
contributions, and we'll connect with you again very soon. And good luck with the sort of anticlimax dealing with that.
And you too, Simon. I know I've got 100 now straight away. So yeah, good luck and thanks for having me.